It's Monday night, and you know what that means. The Jersey First Television Network probably brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk, and certainly I am the generational talent in Garden State media because, ladies and gentlemen, now more than ever, I'll tell you right now, my level of honesty is truly necessary in this era of journalistic deception, especially with the liberal establishment media here in New Jersey. Folks, I'm the hero you need right now, and I will lead us. Trust me, that's what I'm here to do. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe. Happy April, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful end to the month of March. Obviously, some April showers. Hopefully, we'll bring some May flowers as it feels like springtime with some temperatures. And of course, I want to thank you all for tuning in from wherever and however you may be doing so right now on Facebook Live via StreamYard, also on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, as well as all of our other social media platforms. And folks, if you haven't done so already, what are you waiting for? It takes a few seconds. Make sure you like us on Facebook, of course. Follow us on Instagram and X. And it just takes a few seconds. I've actually counted. It's 5 to like, comment, and share. And don't forget to subscribe to Jersey First TV on YouTube. Every little bit helps. And of course, whether you get your podcast on Spotify or SoundCloud, download Jersey First and take us with you anywhere at any time, whether it's on your PC, Mac, smartphone, or tablet, whether you're out walking the dog, maybe you're doing grocery shopping, maybe you're picking up your kids from soccer practice, piano lessons, or whatever. Folks, I'm pretty sure you're on your phone or you're on a tablet or whatever it is you're on. Check out Jersey First. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. And I can't say it enough, ladies and gentlemen, what a privilege it is to be on the dream team of Garden State Media. That's right, folks. It is Jersey First TV. Always educating and advocating for the people in the great state of New Jersey. You can check out brand new episodes of The Nader Narrative, which premiere every Thursday. Of course, check your local listings. And it's hosted by my amazing tag team partner, the incredible Elizabeth Nader. And of course, brand new episodes of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe premiere every Monday night. Once again, check your local listings for start times as well. Folks, you want to stick around for final thoughts? It's a jam-packed one, to say the very least. Folks, I haven't talked about it enough, but why not? I want to thank everybody, of course, for the month of March. Ladies and gentlemen, 117,000 organic views here on Real Talk. And folks, it's hard to be humble when you're this great. And, we got a lot of these little Mickey Mouse journalists with the little Mickey Mouse podcasts and the little Mickey Mouse news sites. Folks, let's be very fair. They're not doing these numbers. They'll do these numbers in a year. I do them in a month. But again, folks, that's just the greatness you've come to get accustomed to here with Real Talk. I'll talk more about that during Final Thoughts, folks. You definitely want to stick around for that commentary. And of course, also, folks, you know what? It's been a little while, but it's always fun to make fun of all the TDS sickos in New Jersey media, academia, and activism. And take your pick, ladies and gentlemen. There is no shortage, whether it's Antoinette Hope, with the New Jersey Working Families Party, beta males like Joe Amaditis at Montclair State University. Of course, Sleepy Allen, who, of course, it's 6:05 Eastern time. Alan Steinman from Insider NJ. He's sleeping. He's not watching this. But he'll tune in tomorrow. Trust me, he can't help himself. Or, of course, all the other, lazy journalists like Matt Friedman, who, folks, can the guy ever iron a shirt for an appearance at 10 in the morning? My God. Call me a hair, for God's sakes. Jesus. Folks, imagine being married to that. No wonder. Folks, I'm sure his wife must be working overtime at that bookstore. Why would you want to come home to that? And of course, you have Chucky Style, Charles Style, with his usual TDS symptoms. And of course, folks, let's be honest, the usual people. We have John Van Vliet at Insider NJ, of course. Certainly useless activists like Maria Rodriguez-Gregg, Laura Bustamante, and of course, the resident cat lady, Amy Torres, the executive director of the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice. And of course, folks, you have Max Pizarro and Uncle Dave, Hetty Rosenstein, Ravi Bala, Tiffany Fisher, Phil Cohen, Jay Lassiter, the usual useless humans, Lauren Albrecht, Patty Campos Medina. Okay. Veneri, again, Valerie Veneri Huddle. Again, folks, these are the usual TDS sickos that just keep bitching and moaning like they do. And we saw it over the weekend, right? We saw, obviously, demonstrations all across New Jersey, even here in Weehawken. Right? Yes, folks, again, all 73 people there. And you can smell the cat piss right through the video. I mean, I don't know if you can. I know I could watch it in here nearby in Weehawken. But more on these people later, folks, as we'll have a lot to say about the nonsense over the weekend with these marches. And, of course, when we talk about nonsense, folks, let's talk about David Cruz, Uncle Dave, of course, in his usual, sort of like perpetual erection he has for Cory Booker. And that ridiculous 25-hour rant. I mean, folks, what did he even say in 25 hours? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it boggles my mind how easily the left get entertained with grandstanding with people like Cory Booker, right? But we'll talk a little bit more about that during Final Thoughts. You want to stick around for that special commentary. And of course, folks, I'll talk again about what's going on with all these marches. It just seems like all these left-wingers, all these social justice clowns and woke fools, and the insufferable feminists and the smelly cat ladies. If you put this much effort and money into organizing, maybe, I don't know, help out homeless vets or homeless people. Maybe you'd be actually doing something productive with your time, but that's a lot to ask of grown adults having full-blown meltdowns. More on that later during Final Thoughts, of course. I'll also talk about some interesting flyers over the weekend when it comes to Katie Brennan and Ravi Bala, the two resident clowns and virtue signalers running for state assembly seats in the 32nd Legislative District. More on them a little bit later, and quite frankly, why their campaign is such a joke. So, folks, you don't want to miss that during Final Thoughts. There's a lot to cover, of course, during the broadcast. And, of course, if you just joined us live right now, like, comment, and share, folks. Let everyone know how much you enjoy Real Talk with Fernando Uribe right here on the Jersey First Television Network. Folks, listen, it's a big election year. We have a gubernatorial primaries coming up on June the 10th. We have primaries for all 80 state assembly seats coming up, which will be decided this November. And we have a lot of interesting municipal races here in Hudson County, where I live nearby, obviously. We have a mayoral race in Hoboken and in Jersey City. But there's another interesting mayoral race in Hudson County, and that's in Western Hudson County in the great municipality of Kearny, folks. Great delis, great restaurants, great people there in the township of Kearny. And why not talk to one of the candidates running for mayor this year in the great township of Kearny? Folks, he's a big fan of the show, and he's a guy who I love talking to, and he's a guy who's really committed to hopefully will be his constituency in the city of Kearny. Folks, here he is. Sidney Ferreira joins us live right now on Real Talk. Sidney, how are you, sir?
Hey, Fernando.
How's everything with you, man?
Great. Everything's great. Thanks for having me, and thank you to everyone that's watching tonight.
No, absolutely. And folks, again, if you're not doing it already, it takes 5 seconds. Trust me, I've done it. I've counted. Like, comment, and share tonight's episode here on Real Talk with Kearny, New Jersey mayoral candidate Sidney Ferreira. Sidney, good to see you, brother. Of course, obviously in the news cycle here in Hudson County, it seems like the big mayoral races get, as I mentioned before, getting a lot of eyeballs, obviously nearby by me in Hoboken and then Jersey City. But make no mistake about it, this mayor's race in Kearny coming up this year, I would argue, is just as important, if not perhaps the most important in Hudson County, because of what we're seeing with, I think, the political climate in Kearny. Is that fair to say?
Yes, Fernando. So for the first time in 40 years, as you may know, and as your viewers may know, Kearny for the first time voted for a Republican candidate, voted for President Trump. First time in 40 years that's ever happened. The last time was with Ronald Reagan for his second term, I believe. So it's very big news. We're the only town that went red this year. And I think I'd like to attribute it not only to President Trump. He ran, a strong campaign, but also I'd like to attribute to the stuff that we've been doing here on the ground as well. Many efforts that we've made over the last 2 years since during our last election in 2023, during the special mayoral race. And for the next 2 years after that, we've made lots of gains. And we're the only town in Hudson County that went red so far. And there are other bright spots, though, as well, that are prime for change as well, and that goes in Hoboken. And I believe they have a mayoral race next year as well. Secaucus also looks prime for change as well. So, and North Hudson, the demographics in North Hudson, I think that is also another area where we can make gains as well.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, I mean, just for clarification purposes, bro, not to be a smart ass, because, I like to always, be as accurate as I can on the show. The city of Bayonne was also won by Donald Trump last November. So a lot of gains, man, in Kearny, in Bayonne.
Okay.
Obviously we saw a lot of inroads in northern Hudson County, municipalities like mine, Union City, Weehawken, West New York, North Bergen. We saw the president actually almost win the caucus, right? So there just seems to be this I want to call it a red wave, but I think a red momentum about being tired of, culture war issues, how it seems like, and I'm the only one talking about this on the program here, really in state media, Sydney, but this is a local race where, a lot of the woke fools and all this, woke nonsense that seems to be permeating our political culture, again, it makes national headlines and state headlines. But at the local level, I would argue maybe not as much, but it's still something to keep an eye out for, especially when it comes to school board elections. And also, I think, what council members do at a municipal level as well.
Right. I don't think that, right, to your key point, I don't think that we should be focusing on parties. I think, we have to use the party infrastructures, to win these elections, and then hopefully to govern more effectively. Just like we have President Trump in office, if we get a Republican governor, we'll work with the Republican governor to make some big changes here. But it doesn't, on a local level, people are not voting Republican and Democrat. Some may be, but I believe that, there's a huge chunk in the middle, whether it's, Republicans who are moderate or moderate Democrats, or even, people in the middle that don't have a party and don't feel like they have a home right now because neither party speaks to them. I believe those are the people that we have to really pay attention to, and that we have to draw closer to us, not by focusing on party politics, but by, I want to work with those people. I not only want to get their votes, but I want to be able to work with everyone. And I think that, being in a town that is predominantly Democrat, I mean, we have about over 9,000 registered Democrats. Our Republican numbers have increased in the last few years. We had about 2,000. I believe we're at almost 4,000 now, or even over that. So there is a disparity in the amount of Democrats to Republicans. So we have to work with Democrats. It's a reality. But nonetheless, we are making gains. And Republicans are fired up, I believe, this time around. And I think independents are fired up. They want to see some change. They don't care who it is. They don't care what party it is. They're just tired of the same people in government over and over every year being reelected, not having sometimes competition, which we have provided in the last 4 years now, with our team. But I think people are hungry, and like I said, they don't care. Right now, it happens to be because Democrats have been in power here in Hudson County, so people are looking for the alternative. But I don't think it has anything to do with party. I think they're just tired.
So. Listen, fair point. Again, and it really boils down to the issues that matter at a municipal level. Again, the kitchen table issues, the everyday issues. So let's delve into that. And what I ask every candidate that's running for any office that comes on this program, whether again it's gubernatorial candidates, assembly candidates, mayoral candidates, council candidates. I would argue the easiest question is, listen, it's fair to assume or make the logical conclusion you're not happy with your representation right now at City Hall in Kearny. So let's delve into that. What's going wrong in Kearny in your eyes?
Well, there's a multitude of issues, I believe. Some of the most important issues, probably one of the most important issues that I think is causing lots of other problems right now is our parking issues. And that seems to be a problem here in Hudson County. We're just way too congested. Kearny in the last, probably decade or so has really developed. We have lots of large buildings now, mainly the Vermella buildings built by Russo. And so I think that has exasperated the problem. Our current mayor has been in office for the last 30 years. She was on the council. She was council president. She also now is mayor for the last 18 months. And she said it herself, which I don't agree with. But she said that parking isn't, she shouldn't be, she's not responsible to find people parking spots. I mean, we're not asking her to find parking spots, but we're asking her to deal with the issue that she has exasperated over the last few years with her being council president and now being mayor for the last 18 months. I mean, you keep approving large projects. You keep approving conversions from 2 families and 3 families and 3 to 4 families. And so it just makes the problem worse. And so I would argue that the town is responsible because the town created the mess. So the town should be there to help the residents fix the mess. It's creating all kinds of problems. It's causing disputes in neighborhoods. Just recently this weekend, I haven't confirmed it yet, but I believe that there was a shooting this weekend, which is crazy on our streets. It's not something that we have happen here in Kearny. I could be wrong about that, but because obviously it's a rumor, but we do hear lots of stories of disputes. We hear knife fights. We hear, people fighting, just, regular fist fighting over parking spots. I mean, it's crazy. People are that desperate. I'm not calling the people crazy. I'm calling it the situation crazy that we find ourselves in. Another big issue is that the nearby town in Harrison, they have parking permits. So whereas they can park on our streets, we can't park on their streets. So that's a huge problem. This is Kearny. Our streets, our residents pay taxes, our residents pay high rents, and I believe that they have a priority when it comes to our streets. If other towns believe that, and other towns in Hudson County believe that because some places have permits or they have other programs where people cannot park overnight, then maybe that's something that we should have. Maybe just start it off in certain neighborhoods and see if it needs to be expanded. We'll work on that, but it needs to be addressed. It has to be worked on. Right now, it's not. It's ignored from the mayor's own mouth. She feels like she doesn't feel like she's responsible for parking. Another thing that she said, which I can't believe, it's on a town meeting. She couldn't believe it herself because I brought it up at the following town meeting. And I said something that really bothered me when one of the residents asked her, well, if I can't park in Kearny because it's a neighborhood that's close to Harrison, it's the Sanford, Ogden, Radley area at Ann Street. And so in that area, she asked, well, if Harrison residents are parking on our streets and I can't park on our streets because I can't find parking, they're all parking here, and I can't park in Harrison because I don't have a permit, what do I do, Mayor? And she said, with a smirk on her face, which I can't believe she said that as a mayor, she said that, well, you can park in Harrison, you'll just get a ticket. Is that her solution for parking? Is that what she's telling people, that's how she's going to solve the problem in Kearny, is just park in Harrison and get a ticket? Getting a ticket for her may not be a big deal, because, she's made a very good living off our tax dollars. But for other people who work every day and are having a hard time making ends meet, that $50 ticket, that could make or break them for the month. That could be food money, that could be rent money, so it's a very insensitive, very, I just can't believe she said it. She couldn't believe it either, because when I brought it up, she looked and I said, it's on tape. It's part of the council meeting. You said it.
Yeah.
So,
well, listen, I would say without a question, that sounds very, very insensitive by the mayor. And listen, I'm going to try to get the mayor on sometime during the spring or summer to, at least address these issues because like everywhere else in Hudson County, to your point, we're the most densely populated county, not just in New Jersey, but in the country, I would argue.
Right.
And obviously, it's unaffordable to live in New York City. Even in Brooklyn, people go across the river. People go to downtown Jersey. That's become unaffordable. The Heights have become unaffordable. So what are people doing? People are moving up north in Hudson County by me, in Weehawken, Union City. If not, let's go west and folks, yes, I know people find it weird to say this, but Western Hudson County exists. Harrison, Kearny, East Newark. These towns exist, folks. It's not Essex County. But to your point, it just seems like what I'm hearing here, there's a sort of subliminal message I'm hearing about overdevelopment is a problem that is really pervasive in Kearny, like everywhere else in Hudson County. Is that fair to say, Sydney?
Yes, we are very much overdeveloped. And the issue is not, listen, I'm in real estate. I own apartments. So I am very much pro-development, but it has to be done in a smart way. We have to first do it to provide a tax base for the town so that we're not depending on the residents, on the residential tax base. We have to find other creative ways of building our tax base. So development is one way we could do it, with residential buildings, developing the south end of our town. Well, we call it South Kearny. It's not really the south end, but in South Kearny, where we've always had traditionally a big industrial base, which kind of fell off. Now it's starting to, redevelop as well. So we have to take advantage of that, which leads into the next issue, which is taxes. We keep providing these tax incentives to these large developers. And so that eats away at our tax base. And not only does it eat away at our tax base, it encourages even more development, because if the developers can get away with one tax break, they're going to keep getting away with it. We've had one developer that has had 4 different tax breaks, and he wanted a 5th. And he probably would have gotten the 5th if we weren't running the first time in 2021 and then again in 2023 when it became a big issue. And that 5th tax incentive was denied by the council. I had small campaign with a couple of the council members, talking to them and asking them if they can please reconsider their vote and get us a no vote on the 5th one. And it happened. And so this company, I believe they may still develop. I'm not 100% sure, but they're not going to get a pilot. They're not going to get a payment in lieu of taxes. And that happened because we stood up against it. We rose up against it. And so that's one little thing that we can do. I would also request that, we also, because we need those tax dollars, right? We need those tax dollars to build our sewers, to expand sewers, to hire more police officers and firefighters and teachers, fix our streets, which are a mess in some areas, not only here in Kearny, but in other areas of Hudson County. We need that money. So it doesn't make sense to be giving these tax breaks. And then not only that, but it's unfair to residential taxpayers, because the burden has to come from somewhere, right? I've always done math, and, something plus something equals something else. And if you take away from one of those, one side of the equation, you have to make it up on the other side. So, that's what happens. And that's what's been happening. And it's unfair to the residents who live here, and they need some help, because our taxes, just like everywhere else in Hudson County and Jersey in general, is astronomical. It's out of control. Yeah. And not only that, but I wouldn't mind paying higher tax rates if we got value for our money, but we don't see it. We see crumbling infrastructure, broken streets, dirty streets, stained. Our Kearny Avenue it's become like urban blight lately. Wow. We have so many people, so many, and it's hard to say because I live here and I love this town, but in order to love something, sometimes you have to point you have to point out the faults, and you have to see what's wrong with it to be able to fix it. And so that's what we're going to do. So I see what's wrong with it, and we're going to try to address it. But we need tax dollars to do it. And so, I've announced it before, and I'm going to do it again. Like, if we get in there, we're going to look over those Vermella agreements, those 4 agreements where they got these tax breaks, and we're going to see what we can do to try to reverse some of them, or try to make up somehow some of the money that was lost on those contracts.
Fair enough. Folks, if you're just joining us live right now, it's 6:21 here on the East Coast. Like, comment, and share tonight's episode, ladies and gentlemen, of Real Talk, here as Kearny Mayoral candidate Cindy Ferreira joins us live right now. Folks, keep the comments coming. Some good comments there. Great Patriots and people overall. The fans just tune in every single week. And if you have a question for our guest tonight or any comments, again, drop them in there. We appreciate you tuning in here live on Facebook, also via YouTube, as well as on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, of course, all our social media platforms. Cindy, you mentioned about property taxes. Obviously, we have the highest property taxes in the country. They just went up again. A recent story on NJ.com. One of the few stories on NJ.com that are actually reliable. I mean, it's like anything else. Like, a clock is right twice a day, too. Occasionally, NJ.com will drop something informative. But it's alarming, right? I mean, obviously, over $10,000 on average in New Jersey, where I live up here in northern Hudson County. For the most part, I got to say, I'm very fortunate. My mayor is also my state senator. And State Senator Stack does a really good job in his capacity to make sure that property taxes remain reasonable here in Union City. That's not the case with every mayor, as we all know, in Hudson County or in New Jersey. What would you say? Obviously, I mean, listen, we know the current mayor. We know the predecessor before, Hudson County Superior Court Judge Al Santos. Got a lot of flack, I would argue, about the quality of life in Kearny, whether or not property taxes were ever stable. Are we just seeing a continuation of bad policies from the previous years, or are we just seeing like a new precedent as well?
Well, so to your point, we did have a different mayor. We did have 18 months ago, we did have a different mayor. But I would argue that Mayor Doyle has been on the council. She was council president. And not only that, I didn't touch on this before, but she's also been the the chairwoman of the finance committee. So she was in charge of the budgets this whole time. And so I believe that, and I make this commitment. I've made it before. I did it in 2021. I did it again in 2023 when I ran for mayor, and I'm going to do it again. we are going to look through the budget. We're going to audit the budget. We're going to look at it line by line, call it whatever you will, the Municipal Office of Government Efficiency, whatever you want to call it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get people who are trained in doing this, and they're going to look at the budget line by line, and we're going to find out where we're spending our money. And we're going to see where we can best reallocate those funds to things that actually benefit taxpayers, because they're the ones who are paying our bills, and we have to respect their money. And not only the taxpayers, but the renters, people pay rent, and indirectly that helps pay our taxes. So they deserve to receive the benefits, not anyone else. So that's what we're going to look into. And the public has my commitment to that. I've made a commitment to look at the Vermella agreements, whatever we can do there. And I'm going to make a commitment to audit the budget and find some money and reallocate funds where they are not benefiting taxpayers.
Also, too, Cindy, let me ask you, because I've talked to other mayoral candidates in other elections, and obviously, I think it's an issue that really, I think, resonates in any municipality. But what do recreation services look like in the city of Kearny? Because again, like anything else, we want our kids to be productive. We want our kids to stay safe. We want our kids to be doing things with their time that is valuable and productive. And for maybe our viewers that aren't familiar with the city of Kearny, for the most part, what do recreation services look like for our kids in Kearny, and can they improve?
They can improve. So this is something that I've also had conversations with many parents here in town for the last two runs. And it seems to be that recreation is a big concern. We do have a good recreation department. We can make it better. So I'm interested in making things better, taking what works, continuing what works, and fixing what needs to be addressed. There are many things that need to be addressed. That need to be addressed from what I hear from the parents. Some people on the rec department may not agree. They've had conversations with me and they said that they don't agree with it, but these are things that I hear. We were also Soccer Town USA at one point. I'd love to come back to that. I'd also love to expand other programs like football and baseball and other programs, because these things get kids off the streets, right? They get them to do something productive. They're a part of a team. They're a part of something, an effort, and it helps to make them better. I played soccer when I was younger. My brother played as well. He played several sports, from baseball to football as well. And so I think it is something that needs to be addressed, and the town needs to help. And we're gonna look to expand the program as well. I was just actually talking to some people about it a couple of days ago. And I'm going to try to get more corporate sponsors in there to try to get more parents involved, because some parents, they may be, we just raised our fees from, I believe it was $25 to $50. So again, for some people that's nothing, but for some people it could be the difference, $50, it's $50, they could use it towards something else.
Absolutely.
So maybe there's something where we can do to help alleviate that, or to work towards, lowering that back to where it was, or maybe, I don't know, maybe eliminating it if we can, to help expand it, to get more kids involved, because we have many programs that don't have enough kids now in those programs. And many, for a couple of years, some of the programs were shut down. Now I hear that some of them have opened up again. So, but I really would like to work with the rec department and to really expand those programs. And we're going to use corporate sponsorships to help there.
Cindy, you mentioned at the top of the program, obviously it's a municipal election. It tends to be, I think, for the most part in many municipalities, sort of like a nonpartisan election. And to your point about the registrations in the city of Kearny, obviously it's been predominantly a very Democrat-heavy town. But this isn't about party, like you mentioned earlier. It's about what's doing best for Kearny. Having said that, when you're going door to door and you're knocking on doors, going to food festivals, maybe having town halls, whatever it is you're doing, again, to reach out to potential voters, whether, again, Republican voters, independents, and Democrats collectively, what would you say, other than parking, property taxes, public safety, but what do you think is really resonating when you're knocking on doors and talking to people and saying, listen, I get it. Maybe you've been a lifelong Democrat. We're looking at the voter roll, but this isn't about party. It's about priorities in Kearny. What's been the feedback so far? Again, and you've been at this for a little bit now. Obviously, elections aren't until November, right? Mm-hmm. So you still have some months, but again, these months will catch up quickly, as they say. What would you like to share with our audience today about when you're knocking on doors or talking to people at meet and greets, what is really resonating with them when it comes to your campaign for you and your running mates?
I think the main issues in town are always going to be parking and taxes, like we discussed before. Those are the main issues. Those are the top issues, I would say. We also have parents talking about what you spoke about before, which is recreation and other programs for, what's available for seniors, what's available for veterans, disabled people, what's available for as far as like addiction programs, which are all things that I'd like to get involved in as well, and expand those programs everywhere that we can. I think it's important to take care of those groups, especially students and kids, to help alleviate the burden on parents. To help seniors and veterans and disabled people and help people who are addicted. It seems to be a very big problem in most towns, and we also have that problem here in town as well. So it's something that I'd like to address as well. And also, like I said before about our main corridor, which is Kearny Avenue, there are other streets as well. People do talk about, the urban blight there as well. They feel that sometimes we don't have, there are closed shops. Sometimes they feel maybe we can get different kinds of stores as well, in addition to the ones that we already have. If we can attract more businesses, to our main corridor by sprucing it up and making it look better. It hasn't been done since Mayor Santos did it many years ago. And so that's something that I would like to look at again and revamp as well. We really need help there. So those are basically the most important issues, the most important social issues here in town, fixing our streets, plowing, the regular stuff that, probably wasn't done before we started a campaign. And that's the beauty of living in a democracy, right, Fernando? Like, there's so many times, so many years that have, and it's no one's fault. It's not, the former mayor's fault. He just didn't hear from the people, and he didn't see that people were a little frustrated with the way things were going. So, because no one ran, so he thought things were great, and he did what he could, and he did a pretty good job. I would have done things maybe a little bit differently. And then with this mayor, it just seems like she really hasn't done anything. It just ignores every issue. And it's more of like, she was elected prom queen. I don't know. It's like, she goes to events and takes pictures and posts it on Facebook, and, and only addresses an issue when the residents, for example, the residents I spoke about before at Sanford, Bradley, Ogden, and Ann Streets. I mean, they really been fighting for parking, and they finally got their parking permits just 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, at the council meeting, that she finally approved it after so long of them begging her to get it. They organized. Actually, one of them is one of my fellow candidates, one of the people who organized those streets. So, these are important issues, and that's what people care about. So.
Cindy, let me ask you this one. When you mentioned parking, I mean, obviously some municipalities have taken certain steps. For example, I'll give you an example, like in West New York, right next door from where I live. And actually, I grew up in West New York, Proud Memorial High School, Tiger. And I've seen, obviously, that municipality go through a lot of different changes like everywhere else. And they've tried to build parking decks, and that still is, very complicated because it still doesn't really address the problem. That's how congested it is. Do you see Kearny maybe going the way of finding some property, whether it's via eminent domain or anything else, that perhaps the creation or building of a parking deck in certain strategic parts of town would actually work? Or is it, or am I just being too optimistic here?
Yes, I believe it will. We've already targeted certain properties that we've seen that are owned by the town right now, and possible properties that we can acquire. And that's something that we will be working on. And we're going to try to make it as self-sufficient as possible, so it doesn't cost the taxpayers any money. So, for example, selling parking spaces at market rates. Because, listen, Fernando, even though it's an extra expense, I believe that many people will pay for that convenience. Not only the convenience of not having to come home after a hard day of work and looking for a parking spot for a half an hour, hour and a half. Not only that, but even after you've been looking for a spot for an hour and you say, you know what, screw this, I'm just going to park anywhere. And so what if I get a ticket, and then they have to pay that ticket as well. So this is something that they can budget, if they have an amount of a parking pass or something that we can give them and they can pay for it, then they can budget that and they wouldn't have to worry about tickets. They wouldn't have to worry about spending time, because time is money. You're away from your family for an extra half an hour to an hour every day or more. Sometimes some people tell me to look for a parking space, which I find totally ridiculous that we can't do anything about. We have to do something about it. These people pay good money in taxes and rents, high rents. And that's something that we caused the problem. We have to fix it. I didn't cause the problem, but I'm here to fix it. I'm going to help the town address it. So yes, I believe that we should be looking into that as far as acquiring properties. And we already have properties, like I said, on hand. You can possibly do, like Harrison does very well. They have underneath the bridge at 280, they have a commercial parking lot there. That's something that maybe that we can do down in South Kearny. We have, some properties there as well. So, somebody drives their car down to South Kearny, picks up their commercial vehicle, parks their car there, takes it to work, comes back, picks up their car and goes home, and so those are things that we're going to be looking into as well, and try to make it, something where it is self-sufficient and taxpayers don't have to pay for it.
All right, well said. Folks, it's 6:37 here on the East Coast. If you just joined us live, hey, no sweat. Like, comment, and share tonight's episode right now as Kearny, New Jersey mayoral candidate Cindy Ferreira joins us live right here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Folks, again, like, comment, and share. It only takes a few seconds to show your support for the Jersey First Television Network. Cindy, you mentioned, obviously, since we're talking about parking, I think what also is important, is sort of talking about, as we have about property taxes, certainly the congestion. You work in real estate. What's real estate looking like these days in Kearny? Obviously, I talk to people all the time, whether it's on this program or, obviously off the record. And listen, where I live in Northern Hudson County, I live a block from the light rail. I walk 2 blocks. I see Manhattan. I'm paying for where I'm paying. Okay, I get it. It's location. A lot of people are looking at towns like Harrison and Kearny, moving into Western Hudson County. Yes, folks, it does exist. Okay, it's not just up here by me, but it's Kearny, Harrison, East Newark collectively. What do you see in the sense of rents, property values within the city of Kearny? Are we seeing like sort of a spike? Is it sort of maintaining itself? Is it decreasing? What can you tell our viewers tonight about the state of real estate in Kearny?
Look, it's not all doom and gloom, Fernando. I don't want to make it sound like our town is terrible and we have to fix this and we have to fix that. We have a great town. We have a great community.
You do. Yeah, you do. Absolutely.
We have a lot of great shops. You have a lot of restaurants from, with different cultures. So we have a good community. We have a great community. That's why people want to live here. But, there are things that we can improve, and we have to be able to see the things that we can improve. So, as far as real estate goes, yes, it's increased substantially. It is, but there's value in that. Prices are what people are willing to pay. And if someone is willing to pay for it, then that's what it's worth in their eyes. Rents are high. And I would argue that they really skyrocketed lately. I have people telling me all the time that, landlords are raising their rates $100, $200, $300, $400 in a year, and I believe that some of that has to do with all of the new construction. You have buildings that have gone up for $2,500, $3,000 an apartment. When you see a homeowner or someone who, a small landlord, they look at their rates and, people are still paying $1,200, $1,500 for an apartment. And then they see these other apartments, $2,500, $3,000. Well, they're going to increase their rates as well. So I have people that, were at $1,200, maybe just 2-3 years ago, that are now at $1,900. I was just talking to someone actually the other day as well about that. Within 2 years, her rent went up, I think it was $350 one year and then $400 the next year or something like that. And, when you look at percentages, those are huge percentage increases. You're talking about 25% a year or more. So, it's hard in that sense. And that's the reason why, look, if we provide value to people, then I don't think that people, they'll be willing to pay those prices and they'll be willing to pay those rents and they'll be willing to pay the taxes, that we charge. But we have to provide the value. We have to show them that we're putting their money to work for them.
Folks, once again, if you're just tuning in live, Don't sweat it. Like, comment, and share tonight's episode here of Real Talk with Kearny, New Jersey mayoral candidate Cindy Ferreira, our guest tonight. We'll be wrapping up shortly with him. So again, if you have any comments or questions, folks, drop them in there in the comments section. I see a lot of support here for you. Here's a question here right now, Cindy. What about the issue of excessive speeding in and around town?
I have noticed that. It just happens right on my street as well, and I live on a very residential block. So that does happen, and it's something that we need to address. And also, I get complaints from neighbors and from people who live in town with loud music and so on and so forth. So maybe there are things that we can address there as well, just to improve quality of life. I know people have their right to do what they want as well. They want to listen to their music, they want to listen to it loud, but there needs to be some sort of a balance. So, we have to think about other people as well and think about their quality of life as well. So
let me ask you this, because I'm not sure if it's really an issue in Kearny the way it's really been surfacing throughout Hudson County, Sydney. And I'm not really invested in this because I really don't, as they say, I don't have a dog in the fight, even though some people think maybe I could benefit from it. But we're seeing dispensaries really popping up everywhere in Hudson County. We've seen, obviously, since 2020, by an overwhelming margin on a ballot referendum here in New Jersey. We did see recreational marijuana be legalized. We've seen, obviously, medicinal marijuana be available for some years even before that. And we're seeing dispensaries really surfacing everywhere. We've seen it in Jersey City. Again, I don't smoke weed. I never have. I don't want to. I have no interest. Even though some people who watch this program might be like, well, Fernando, if anyone should benefit from smoking weed, might be Fernando, so he lightens up a little bit. But nevertheless, though, we are seeing a lot of municipalities in New Jersey, especially in Hudson County, making these dispensaries available, obviously bestowing these licenses. As I mentioned, I said Jersey City, certainly nearby in West New York I've seen, certainly in North Bergen, as well as other municipalities. What are you hearing from residents about Kearny? Is that something that, when it talks about the economic boom for the town, is that something that residents are sort of up in arms and saying, hey, listen, we need a dispensary here. The tax revenues from this could benefit the town. Or are you not hearing that?
We haven't really been hearing it, actually. I've been hearing the opposite, that most people don't want it. So, I mean, like you, Fernando, I don't smoke. I have no interest in doing it as well, not even cigarettes. I did smoke cigarettes back in the day, but, it's for health reasons. It's not something that I do. My mom recently passed from lung cancer as well, so it's just something that I'm not interested in at all. But I don't begrudge anyone who wants to do it. I mean, we live in a free country. People can do whatever they want to do, as long as it's not affecting other people. Again, like we spoke about before with loud music and so on and so forth. So I believe, again, there has to be a balance. I think that right now the consensus around town is that the residents don't want it. It's something that we have to revisit in the future. I don't know. But right now, I don't think that's something that residents want. It's not something that I hear. We don't hear a rallying call. We don't hear anything like that. So I don't foresee it as an issue, and not in this campaign as well, and not in the near future. I don't think that's where we want to go yet here in town.
Listen, I'm with you. There's nothing more unpleasant. Listen, I love going to Manhattan. I drive everywhere, but whenever, let's say, I just go Midtown, or I'm walking through Times Square or by the Port Authority, I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe I sound like that old man screaming at the kids to stay off the grass or something, but there's no appeal for me. And I hate the smell, whether I'm walking, again, through the Port Authority. And even sometimes, let's say, if you're familiar with my part of town, Bergen Line Avenue is a big commercial avenue in northern Hudson County. And for everyone maybe tuning in tonight from Kearny that isn't familiar, it is a long commercial strip starting literally on 90th Street in North Bergen, going all the way south, literally until you get to the border of Union City and the Jersey City Heights. So it's a big commercial avenue. Where I live, obviously, there's a lot of retail. And sometimes when I'm walking through there, man, again, maybe I sound like a boomer. Maybe I'm just showing my age. I don't know, man. I just hate the smell of it. I get it. It's a recreation. I mean, listen, again, I don't want to get all philosophical about it. We all know that marijuana, alcohol and nicotine is much more harmful than marijuana. I get it. It's not for me. But regardless, there seems to be an audience and a demographic and a market for it. But it just seems like these things are really, really cropping up around town. So if you're telling me that in Kearny, there doesn't seem to be this interest. I mean, good, kudos. I'm happy to hear that. I hope it stays that way. But also when we talk about retail, obviously since the pandemic, we saw a lot of small businesses go under because of, let's be honest, Governor Murphy's draconian COVID measures that kept the state shut down longer than it should have. It killed restaurants, it killed small businesses. But in Kearny specifically, have you seen a little bit of a resurgence or a renaissance again of small businesses either returning to Kearny or just, again, coming up from the ashes in Kearny?
We have seen it because, again, we have a great town, Fernando, and we do have many great small businesses, and I know many of the small business owners as well, and so we do have a strong business. I would like to improve it a little bit better, and I would like to help the business owners. They express some concerns. One of them being parking. Some areas in town it's very difficult, especially for restaurants who don't have their own parking facilities. They depend on neighbors, or some of them don't even have that. So it makes it very difficult, and it has affected their business. So, it's something that we'll have to assist with them, and we'll have to help. And I do want to see a vibrant. I even said it last time in 2023, and it will be also a campaign focus for us as well. I want to have a beefed up beautification program. I want to be able to, like I said before about the urban blight on Kearny Avenue, I would really like to secure more grants, whether it be state, whether it be county, anything that we can find, to be able to improve our business corridors, make them more business friendly, make them more appealing. Kearny Avenue, Midland Avenue, Belleville Turnpike, and all the other major thoroughfares in our town, and also at the entrance and exit ways of our town. I mean, some of them look a little, we could represent ourselves better. We're a better town than that. And so that's what I'd like to work on as well. And I think that would help the businesses as well. Listen, if you got a nice, you got a nice building, you got a nice storefront, and, the place looks beautiful with nice pavers and benches and lampposts, you're more enticed to move into a place like that, with nice pedestrian traffic and so on and so forth. So those are things that we want to work on.
Absolutely. One more comment here as we're wrapping up shortly. Shout out to Diane Rooney watching on the program. Thank you, Diane.
Hi, Diane.
I hope you make this a part of your regular Monday night viewing and entertainment, Diane. We'll try to decipher the comment here a little bit. Could the high rents contribute to the parking? For example, packing apartments to afford rents, obviously more cars, unowned homes, even illegal apartments. How would you address this?
So we have to realize that the reason, I think illegal apartments is something else that no one has touched on. I did touch on it in 2023, which was very surprising, I guess, for the interviewer. He said that no one has ever mentioned this, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed. Maybe not in owner-occupied homes. I mean, the laws are a little different about that, but in a non-owner-occupied home, we have to work on it. We have to. There are things that we can do. There are things that are done in other towns where I own property, where there are checks for that, checks and balances as far as, to see if there are units there that don't belong there, because it's not fair, Fernando. It's an equity question, because, you have these people who live in an illegal apartment. The town doesn't know about it. And so they're not taxed. The homeowner is not taxed for these units when they should be. So it's a fairness issue. You have a family down the street, a two family home, and then you have a basement underneath. They could be renting their basement, but they choose not to because they choose to follow the law. Then you have the next door house who has the two apartments, and then they have they rent their basement, and they basically pay the same taxes, but one has an extra income stream. So that's not fair. And then it also not only does it affect the tax base, but it also affects our parking as well. So you have all these illegal units that, that the town doesn't know about. And some of them have cars. Most of them have cars, I'm sure. Some of them may have more than one car, and they're on our streets. And so they take away from the residents who are supposed to be there, people who, pay their taxes or people who pay their rents. And so it's not fair to them as well. So, those are things that we have to address. I believe that we can address it. I've learned from other towns. I will continue to speak to other towns that have something in place to address this. And so I think it's something that can be addressed, but we have to address the main problem, the main reason why people have illegal apartments, especially in owner-occupied homes. It's because of the taxes. They can't afford it. They can't afford to live in their own homes. No one wants to rent a room in their house. No one wants to rent their basement to someone who they don't know. But they do it out of necessity. They do it out of desperation because they can't afford it. So help is on the way. We're going to work on that. And then once the help is there, then we're going to work on addressing the illegal units that shouldn't be there, especially in non-owner-occupied homes.
So let me ask you this. Some municipalities have been very strict about it. They've passed ordinances. I don't know because, again, I'm not familiar with sort of Kearny ordinances. But has Airbnb been outlawed in the city of Kearny?
It has not. It was a campaign issue. I didn't even know it was much of an issue. I did know that there were some, especially places who have, legal rooms for rent, boarding homes, I guess they're called. Some of them did rent to Airbnb. So I didn't, but I personally didn't know it was an issue until the 2021 campaign as well. I don't know if it's a huge issue or if it's something that's completely out of control, but it may be something to address as well.
Would you want to outlaw that? Should you be able to win this November, take office in January? Is that something you want to explore, or is the data still not conclusive enough to make that sort of decision?
Let's look at the data before I make any decisions or promise to do it. I don't want to I don't want to promise anything. The things that I promised tonight are the things that I want to do. I don't want to promise anything that I may change my mind on or may not do. So I'm going to look into it. So the person who asked that question in 2021, they have my commitment that I will look into it. And you have my commitment that I will look into it as well.
All right. Before we call it a night here, Sydney, we've gotten to know Sydney Ferreira, the candidate, the realtor. Let's talk to Sydney, the guy. So a little bit of a lightning round here with Sydney Ferreira, a quick lightning round, and whatever comes to mind, let's do that. All right. So let's go. I'm a big sports fan. Not sure if you are, but let's try to delve into that. MLB team. Who do you like?
I'm sorry. Say it again. You cut off a little bit.
Favorite MLB team? Major League Baseball.
MLB, I hate to admit it, but I was never a huge MLB fan. So I'm not gonna pick a team. I don't want to take anybody off. I'm not
okay. No problem. American football, the NFL.
Giants have to be.
Okay. How do you feel going into the season? A little bit of a quarterback competition there. Russell Wilson, way past his prime, perhaps. Obviously. Others, how do you feel about the Giants this year with giving Brian Daboll and GM Joe Shane another crack at trying to bring this team back into relevance?
I hope they do. I really hope they do. But from what I've been seeing the last couple of years, I don't have high hopes. But I'll always be watching. I'll always be supporting.
Sure. Listen. I'm a miserable Cowboys fan. I have nothing to look forward to. But the one thing I do look forward to is every year when it's the Cowboy Giant game at MetLife, it's a home game for Cowboy fans. So at least I go there. At least I feel a little bit at home. NBA.
NBA, also not a huge fan. So let's talk about the sports that I am a huge fan of.
Okay.
I like football, hockey, and soccer. So those are my three.
Okay. Let's get into hockey. Who's your hockey team?
Devils. Have to be Devils.
Big Devil fan as well. Wasn't it great to just see the Ranger fans leave Prudential Center on Saturday with that look of defeat?
We have a lot of Rangers fans in town, so I don't want to make it worse. I don't want to pick that scab, but it was a little nice.
Yeah, it was satisfying. Not one goal scored this year by the Rangers at Prudential Center. So, let's nice job by Markstrom, I have to say. One of the better pickups in the offseason. Obviously, real football, the global game. Favorite club team?
Favorite club team, I go back and forth. I'm Portuguese, so I love watching international soccer. That's what I really love to do. I always support Portugal. Cristiano Ronaldo, he's my man.
Sure.
I don't care what anyone says about Messi. Ronaldo's the best.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree.
And so, I guess if I would have to pick a team, it would be Porto, even though we just lost yesterday.
Okay.
But I also support any Portuguese. So Porto, Benfica, Sporting. Those are our three major teams in the country. And so anytime any of them are up for any international or any club trophy, I always support them because, I love Portuguese soccer. And not only that, but U.S. soccer has, been doing, making some waves lately as well. So we, hopefully, and Kearny is Soccer Town, USA. Yeah. So we contributed to the U.S. soccer team before. That's when I was younger with Tab Ramos and Tony
That's
Miola.
right. Yeah, that's right.
Uh,
That's right. That's right.
I think of
Well, let me ask you this. Obviously, the FIFA Club World Cup is coming this summer. I believe Porto is in the group play here at MetLife. So, I mean, I'm not sure that ticket will be affordable come this June, but maybe something you might want to check out. But listen, I'm Cuban, Colombian, and Spaniard. Obviously, love rooting for Colombia, love rooting for Spain. It sounds a little front runnerish, as you can see. I'm a Cowboy fan. I'm a Yankee fan. I'm a Laker fan, as you can see. I'm a Real Madrid fan. So a lot to look forward to during the Champions League coming up here as we're getting down to the nitty gritty. Sydney, when it comes to.
So that's why you love Ronaldo, right? Being a Real Madrid fan?
Absolutely. Well, listen, I've always been of the belief that because of Ronaldo playing in the more difficult leagues throughout his career, he's, again, much more sustainable. I mean, Chiquitín, as I like to call Messi, all 5'2" of him. Again, when you're playing in, softer leagues throughout the years, listen, Ronaldo's played in the Premier League. He's played in La Liga. I mean, again, he has played in some of the toughest leagues on the planet. You can't say that about Messi. You just can't. And, again, it would be great to see Ronaldo get a cup before he retires. We know, obviously, coming up next year, the World Cup is here in the United States. It'd be great. I mean, we don't know how many shots he's going to have left at this. He just turned 40. We don't know, again, the mileage on him. We'll see. But I would love to see Ronaldo just capture that World Cup to go along with all the other accolades that he has won in his just illustrious career. Real quick, MCU or DC comic movies?
MCU, I'm kind of embarrassed to say when I was younger, I did follow it more and I like it more, but I may be in the minority here, but I'm kind of tired of seeing all the remakes of DC Comics, and it's the same like Batman and Spider-Man and Spider-Man. I'd like to see more, different things, different. I don't know. So it's not something that I really follow, like the Avengers and all that. It's not when I was younger, but it's not something that I've really been following. So I can't really answer that question for you.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, again, it's pop culture. It's certainly everyone has a taste for it, right? Speaking about having a taste, I hate to put you on the spot here, but favorite cuisine and favorite restaurant in Kearny?
Favorite cuisine? I'm Portuguese, right? It has to be. I love our food. Everything about it is just we take simple ingredients and we make them better. So I'd have to say Portuguese cuisine.
Okay.
So. As far as, I love Italian food. Obviously, who doesn't? I make a pretty banging lasagna. Everyone loves my lasagna.
Okay.
So I made sausage and peppers. Sausage and peppers yesterday with some spaghetti. So
wow.
Pretty good. I do a good job.
Yo, Sydney, what's going on? Where's my invite, man?
I know. One day we'll have to make something happen. I like Mexican cuisine. I love Peruvian food. We have a ton of Peruvian restaurants here as well. I don't want to pick a favorite. I don't want to isolate anyone, but we do have great restaurants here in town. We have, we do have one particular that I'm thinking of, a Mexican restaurant, several Peruvian good restaurants here as well. We have Brazilian, we have Portuguese, lots of we have Colombian, Ecuadorian as well. So can't forget my Colombian, Ecuadorian people as well. We have great cuisine. We have the Greeks right here, which are literally owned by ownership just changed, and they're doing very well. They're always packed. It's a phenomenal place as well. So we have a good eclectic mix here, and that's part of what makes our town such a great place to live, and that's why people want to live here.
No, certainly. And actually, since you mentioned Portuguese, being Devil fans, Portuguese night at the Prudential Center is always a pretty enjoyable night. I remember going to the game last year, and it happened to be during Portuguese night, and I was like, I gotta tell you, man, seeing these little Portuguese mommies walking around, I was like, wait a second, I might have to hang out in Kearny more often. What's going on here? But great stuff there. Sid, before I let you go, man, you're always a gentleman to come on. I wish you the best of luck in this campaign. I'm certainly rooting for you and your council candidates. Hopefully, get across the finish line. We'll certainly want to talk with you later in this summer, going into the fall as it really heats up right before November. But again, I want to thank you for your belief in my media brand and certainly coming on this show. And I'll give you the last word here tonight on Real Talk.
So, Fernando, I'm just looking for an opportunity to change things here in Kearny. We've had the same people in power for the last 30 years. Mayor Doyle in particular, she's been on the council for 30 years. She's been council president for many years. I don't even know how many at this point. Finance committee chair as well. And we know that we can do better. There are so many things that we can do better. And I'd like the opportunity for voters to give us a shot. We have great council candidates. We have Mohammed Walla, who better known as Smiley, the owner of Bella Ray's on Kearny Avenue. He's running in the first ward. In the second ward, we have Margarita Fernandez, who is one of the organizers who is organizing to fix the flooding issues in that area of Kearny in the second ward, and also fixing now the parking issues as well, which they forced the hand of the mayor to do that as well. So these are great people that contribute to the community already. You have in the third ward, you have George Santos, who is known as the Laundry King, I guess, in Kearny, owns several laundry mats as well, and does a good job. Donates to many charities. You don't hear about it because he doesn't really like talking about it. He also does launder the uniforms for the Kearny Public Uniforms Exchange Program, Public Schools Uniform Exchange Program. So he does that. He does it for free. They asked him if they can give him a discount, and he was like, you know what, I'll just do it for free. And so he does that. And I don't know how many thousands they've done in the last couple of years, but it's not a small task that he does. So, we appreciate his efforts for the community, and I'm so proud to be running alongside him as well. And then I'm also running in the fourth ward with Anthony Morales, who's also someone who has always been in Hudson County. Just moved to Kearny a couple of years ago, but already fell in love with the town. He is of Peruvian descent, so that was his calling, why he wanted to be here. He wanted to be closer to his roots and experience all the wonderful Peruvian culture that we have here in town as well. So these are all people that are civic-minded people. They all are community-based. They want to get more involved in the community. They already are. Most of them are already very well ingrained in the community, and they want to do more now. They want to take it to the next level and be able to serve the community even more. So we have excellent candidates, seasoned people, that some of them that have been doing this, have been involved in the community. So I can't wait to see what the election has in store for us. I think that we're going to do great things. We're going to dream big here in Kearny, and we're going to do big things. And I really hope that the voters give us an opportunity this time around.
I'm certainly pulling for you, Sydney. Any links, social media handles you want to share with our audience tonight?
People can just go to search me on Facebook, Sydney Ferreira. I'm also on Instagram. I have to confess, I haven't been using Instagram as much as I used to. So, but whatever I post on Facebook kind of goes on Instagram as well. I'm on the different Kearny forums where they allow me to be. There's one that did ban me for political reasons, but whatever, it is what it is. Two of them actually at this point. So, but so I'm on social media as well. I'm on TikTok and X, but I have to get more involved. It's my fault. It's something that I have to work on.
Well, Sydney, I got to tell you, man, again, I'm not auditioning for a campaign role here, but yeah, if you can use Instagram and X and TikTok, man, it's those platforms that just get a lot of eyes and attention. And like I said, every vote counts during this election cycle. And I'm certainly pulling for you and your council candidates. Take it home, dude. Get across the finish line.
Thanks, Fernando. Thank you to everyone that watched tonight. Hopefully you'll give us a shot, and we'll make Kearny. Our motto is, let's move Kearny forward together. So, and that's right. Well, Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever you are, give us a shot and we'll work with you. 100%.
Well, on that note, folks, he is Sydney Ferreira, mayoral candidate in the city of Kearny. Sydney, happy Easter coming up for you. Happy Father's Day. And best of luck in the campaign. We'll talk to you again soon here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Have a good one, man. God bless you, brother.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
You too.
Folks, good stuff there with Sydney Ferreira. And I just got to tell you, man, a good guy to have on the show and a great guy who I'm rooting for in the city of Kearny for sure. And again, as I mentioned before, folks, you can check him out on Facebook, of course. If you want to get involved with the campaign, please do so. He's a good guy, good candidate, running with good people. And listen, if you know anything about Kearny, New Jersey, just like that wall in your house that needs a fresh coat of paint, Yeah, that's what Kearny needs. It's a big, big brush with a big, fresh coat of paint. And you know what? When you think about painters that want to paint the town in a better color and certainly be fresh and new and just take Kearny forward and move it in a better direction than where it's been heading towards. Folks, you have choices coming up in November. Make sure you pull that lever for Senator Ferreira and his council candidates to, again, help make Kearny a much better municipality going into 2026. And that's right, folks. It's 7:05 here on the East Coast. Don't go anywhere because, again, if you're just joining us live, like, comment, and share tonight's episode of Real Talk here on the Jersey First Television Network. It takes a few seconds to just do that. We really, really appreciate you being here with us on this Monday here as we kick off the month of April here in 2025. Folks, you know what time it is? It's time for final thoughts. Folks, a lot to unpackage here today. And, I haven't talked about these people in quite some time, but we all know the usual Trump derangement syndrome children in Hudson County and New Jersey media, activism, academia, advocacy, you name it, folks. There's been no shortage of clowns and children that exhibit all the symptoms of Trump derangement syndrome. Let's be honest. I mean, and the list changes here behind me because, I could probably fill up my TV with 4 of these and still not get everyone in New Jersey. But I try to at least single out the most egregious examples of Trump derangement syndrome and, quite frankly, how embarrassing it is here in New Jersey. Okay, in no particular order, as you can see there, obviously Antoinette Pope from the New Jersey Working Families Party. Okay, obviously you have beta male Joe Amaditis from the Center for Cooperative Media at Woke State over there in Montclair, New Jersey. Okay, you have Sleepy Alan Steinberg. I'm sure obviously it's past 7 o'clock on the East Coast right now, so he's sleeping. And when he isn't sleeping, I mean, folks, if you ever need a cure for insomnia, check out his podcast. I'm not going to give you the name. You can Google it, whatever. Folks, if there is, folks, I can't recall in my adult life a more boring, monotone, robotic, podcast in New Jersey politics. It's like watching with that awful fedora and just be like, "Hi, I'm Alan Steinberg. Welcome to," and I'm not going to tell you the name because it's like the most, it's like, you ever remember in elementary school or high school if the teacher decided to use their fingernails on the blackboard and scratch? That's what it sounds like listening to Alan Steinberg. "Hello, I'm Alan Steinberg here on YouTube with 20 viewers consistently every single week." Yes, folks, that's what you get when you have a shitty podcast. And I guess we all start somewhere, Alan, so kudos to you that you're able to record. Of course, we all do it. I'm sure we all know you do it during the day because, let's be honest, you're probably half asleep by the late afternoon. So, hey, listen, good for you, with your 20 viewers. You got to start somewhere, right? But of course, when we talk about Trump derangement syndrome during this election cycle, very much like last election cycle, we have the usual useless clowns, right? Like Bob Medina, John Van Vliet from Insider NJ, right? We have useless activists and advocates and those working in academia like Maria Rodriguez-Gregg, Sarah Clanany with Make the Road New Jersey, Laura Bustamante, right? Okay. We also have Matt Freeman. Folks, if you ever want a good laugh, check out what Matt Freeman's on Reporters Roundtable with Uncle Dave, David Cruz. Okay. And and because I've been on Reporters Roundtable, I know when they record. It's right around 10 in the morning. So, is it too much to ask for Matt Freeman to get up a little early, maybe iron a shirt, shave, comb your hair? Is it too much to ask? I'm not, folks, this isn't even being mean. It's about just saying, hey, listen, look professional. You're representing political New Jersey. So maybe Dustin Rassiopi doesn't care how Matt Freeman looks because, again, Dustin's actually working. So maybe he's too busy to actually have to micromanage a man-child like Matt Friedman, right? Or other TDS children like Charles Style, Chucky, or insufferable cat ladies like Amy Torres from the New Jersey Alliance of Immigrant Justice, or again, the usual TDS children like Max Pizarro with Insider NJ. Okay? Or the usual insufferable activists and cat ladies like Hetty Rosenstein. Well, we got some new ones here. Obviously, as you can see there, we see Hoboken Councilman Phil Cohen. Folks, again, imagine being stuck in an elevator with Phil Cohen and running out of oxygen. Because let's be honest, I mean, with the size of that nose and those nostrils, you're going to suffocate real quick standing next to him. Right? Or other useless women in New Jersey media and advocacy. We all know, right? Like Jay Lassiter, obviously there. I mean, when Izzy, let's be fair about Jay Lassiter. When isn't he putting something in his mouth? I mean, that's a conversation for another day. Or Patty Campos Medina, or Valerie Veneri Huddle, as useless as other members of the Veneri family, Lauren Albrecht, even Tiffany Fisher, who, again, a woman running for mayor, and we all know is going to finish dead last in Hoboken, but prefers to bitch and moan about Trump derangement syndrome that she exhibits each and every day. Right? Let's get into the Trump derangement syndrome that exists because of these children. Right? And we saw it this past week on Reporters Roundtable. Now, folks, again, being a broadcast journalist, an award-winning broadcast journalist, I do like to watch everything on my news cycle because I like to learn what's going on. But as we all know, last week, the senior United States Senator here in New Jersey, Cory Booker, went on a grandstanding tour for 25 hours on the floor of the U.S. Senate. What he was babbling about, I don't know. Can someone tell me? But of course, we all know that when it comes to, blowing a load in his pants about Cory Booker, you can always rely on Uncle Dave because that's what he lives for. If you've ever watched his other segments, you could tell not that he can see what's going on down there, obviously, but, certainly we all know that when it comes to Cory Booker, there's never a shortage of expectation from Uncle Dave to blow a load in his pants. But this one was especially funny because obviously, as you see there, you have Lilo Stanton, you have Chuck Style, obviously, probably one of the least photogenic people in New Jersey media. Of course, you have Matt Friedman, the resident man-child, somehow thinking that what Cory Booker did on the floor of the U.S. Senate was somehow commendable. I get it for someone like Uncle Dave seeing, Cory Booker, not drink water or not eat for 25 hours was so commendable. And let's be very fair. I mean, David Cruz couldn't go 25 minutes without eating. So when you see someone going 25 hours without eating, that's a big accomplishment. So hooray for Cory Booker, basically comiendo mierda on the floor of the United States Senate, babbling about God knows what. But would you think that this somehow made a difference? Not really, folks. Was he filibustering a bill on the floor of the Senate? Of course not. He was just grandstanding and babbling incoherently for 25 hours, which again, for someone like Uncle Dave, that's right up his alley. Let's sort of check out how much he was ejaculating in his pants based on this.
Asked rhetorically last week on Roundtable, where's Cory Booker? Well, here's Cory Booker.
Let's get in good trouble. My friend, Madam President, I yield the floor.
Matt, launching a presidential campaign or a true rallying point for Democrats?
Both, potentially. I mean, we always talk about, whether it's presidential campaign, and who knows, and at this point, who cares, really? It was successful, for years in terms of Cory Booker. The biggest knock on him in New Jersey of people is just like, oh, he's such a showboater and a grand.
No shit, Matt. Folks, you can always rely on Matt Friedman for profound political analysis. No effing shit, Matt. Really? Of course he's grandstanding. Of course he's looking to run for the next office, which, let's be honest, I mean, how the last attempt at running for the presidency go? But let's continue.
Grandstander, but he's literally grandstanding here. And it was like very, very successful, I think, in terms of messaging.
What was the message? What, Donald Trump is bad? What exactly is the messaging, Matthew? Okay, and I get it that, when you work the least amount of hours that Matt Friedman works, I get it. Maybe during all that free time at home, you had a chance to hopefully maybe watch this babbling for 25 hours. What exactly did we learn about Cory Booker and the left during these 25 hours? That they don't have a solid plan, that they didn't learn anything about what happened in November? That New Jersey is like very much many in the country overwhelmingly rejected many of the policies of the left, all the woke bullshit that Cory Booker seems to champion, that you seem to always never denounce. I mean, you point it out, sure, but you never denounce it because let's be fair. I mean, that will require Matt Freeman to have that pesky four-syllable word, and we all know he doesn't have that. We all know it's called integrity. Let's continue.
Didn't accomplish anything solid, but in terms of what Democrats want to do, the idea that they're fighting, you know, standing there, and symbolically, a black man smashing the record that Strom Thurmond set, and demonstrating incredible bladder control. And I think all
what bladder control? He didn't eat or drink anything for literally hours and hours before. Like, come on, Matthew. I get it. You're home sitting on your ass with the only pussy in the house that wants to be near you, and those are your cats, let's be honest. So it's not that difficult if you fast. Not that you would ever know, or not that David Cruz would know, but let's continue.
of that, it was a kind of a smashing success. Yeah.
Lilo, another Booker stunt or finger on the pulse of Democrats?
I would agree that if the goal, you know, we can all, yes, it didn't accomplish anything. He wasn't even filibustering the actual vote.
Right.
But again, credit to Lilo for saying this, like, but these are the small little victories that the left like gets a perpetual erection over. And that's where we are right now, folks, in our political climate. Any little victory, anything that just goes against the grain, against the current administration, that's what people blow a load in their pants about. You started this past weekend, right? With these ridiculous marches and these ridiculous speeches, but let's continue.
And business as usual continued afterwards in the most boring, you know, it's like the most boring come down from this high ever. But, you know, if the goal was to get Dems fired up, I mean, you know, I had young progressive friends who were like texting into the midnight hour, you know, they were fired up, you know.
Yes, they were fired up to coddle mentally ill people, trans people, to keep encouraging men playing make-believe and playing dress-up, or the idea that somehow there are parents encouraging mental illness with their kids and encouraging their kids to be trans, or coddling illegals, right? And making sure that somehow illegals are getting training or some sort of workshop to make sure that they can fight back against ICE, because somehow what we've seen in only 3 months are border crossings at an all-time low compared to the last 4 years under President Joe Biden. But that doesn't matter because, again, leftists like David Cruz, like Matt Freeman, who, let's be honest, never leaves his house, let's be honest, okay? You know, in upstate New York. But for regular people that live in regular towns and see the damage that illegals have done to our communities, yeah, that matters, folks. But again, it's better to virtue signal than to actually look for solutions, which is what the left struggles with.
Lots of good emojis. So, you know, what happens of it, who knows. It always strikes me how we in New Jersey, the cynical politics folks among us here, you know, tend to poo-poo Cory Booker, when meanwhile you go to other states and they're like, oh, Cory Booker, wow, he's so cool, he's so great, when's he going to run for president?
Nobody says that.
And so I think there's a sense, you know, I get him, is the grass greener? So when you see somebody from another state, I don't know, but he there's something there that people like, and I'll be interested to see where this goes. And I thought the speech was amazing, and I do think, you know, as what is he, the 7th Black senator ever elected or something like that? I mean, this is flippin' historic. This is like, you know, for people of color, this is a BFD. So I think that is important to note.
Let me get to something here on your particular beat, Lilo. The impact from the...
Well, yes. I mean, again, folks, I mean, you can watch, you know, if you ever need a cure for insomnia, you can do that and watch Reporters Roundtable. But folks, the point is really, again, and it never ceases to amaze me how much propagandists masquerading as journalists, such as Uncle Dave, get this perpetual erection in their pants about Cory Booker, a guy who didn't do shit for the city of Newark, a guy who, can you name me a major bill he's introduced or help co-sponsor in Washington? Right? Other than grandstanding for 25 hours saying, oh my God, Donald Trump is bad. But what concrete solutions are you offering? And that's the problem with the left. They don't offer anything. My goodness, you ask them what a woman is, they struggle even to answer a basic question like that. But folks, again, when it comes to grandstanding and encouraging grandstanding of others, and again, coddling all the woke bullshit and progressive nonsense that it seems like many on the left and many hardcore left-wing Democrats haven't learned their lesson since November. It seems like Uncle Dave hasn't learned the lesson either. But he can keep grandstanding himself and keep perpetuating the same left-wing bullshit politics on his show. But who's really watching his show? Anyone care to ask that question? Maybe Cory Booker should have asked that question on the Senate floor. I'd really love to know the answer. And again, folks, as we continue on with all the TDS children in New Jersey, let's continue on to some of the more egregious examples of Trump derangement syndrome. And of course, folks, without hesitation and let's be honest, folks, we can always rely on Ravi Bala, the resident virtue signaler and mayor of Hoboken currently, running in the 32nd legislative district this June as an independent in the upcoming primary. But again, as we all know, once he took office in January of 2018, taking over for Don Zimmer, and good riddance to that woman who sucked. But yes, what have we learned? Yes, on the very first hour of taking office, establishing an executive order to make Hoboken a sanctuary city to make sure that we protect illegals at all costs in Hoboken. As Hoboken continues to go to shit, and it has under his administration, what do we learn about Ravi Bala? Besides the fact that you wouldn't want this guy defending you in a traffic summons in traffic court, but that's another conversation. Or the reality that people like him and John Allen and Joe Quintero are the living embodiment that it's that easy to get a law degree. Clearly, it really is. Okay? But what have we learned about Hoboken? What we've learned is that, again, in Hoboken, people care more, like Ravi Bala and the rest of the Lollipop Guild, they care more about pronouns than property taxes. And what have we seen with property taxes? They've gone up 16%, while spending in Hoboken has gone up 20%, and spending in his office has gone up by 50%. Because when you want to hire all of your friends to municipal jobs, that's what happens in Hoboken, folks. And who ends up paying? It's the taxpayers. So, of course, for someone like Ravi Bala to run on fiscal responsibility is an effing joke. When a guy who, again, would rather repaint the crosswalks during the month of June, folks, my least favorite month of the year. It's arguably the 30 longest days of my life, every June with Pride Month. I am sick to death of it. But you can always rely on Ravi and the Lollipop Guild, Emily Jabor, Joe Quintero, Phil Cohen, the Charisma Vacuum, Jim Doyle, and all the rats in Hoboken, not the rats running around the town, not the rodents, the public health hazards, the rats working at City Hall under his administration. So when it comes to repainting the crosswalks, that's cool, but hey, why don't you use that money to hire more cops? So I don't know, maybe people aren't getting assaulted in broad daylight in Hoboken to where like bodies aren't washing up on the shore of Sinatra Drive. I don't know. Where Hoboken police aren't handcuffed by, I don't know, get rid of dangerous illegals in Hoboken. Yeah, but again, as long as we worry about pronouns, that's important. As long as we make sure that we celebrate Pride Month and that we coddle mentally ill people, trans people in the Mile Square City, that's what's important. And his running mate's no better. Katie Brennan is just as useless as Ravi Bala. But again, these are the people who this Saturday blew a load in their pants. Well, all these ridiculous antics and all these ridiculous marches. So, folks, coming up on June 10th, you have options in the 32nd Legislative District. I can tell you two options you certainly don't need to have. And that's Ravi Bala and Katie Brennan. Two of the more useless people running campaigns in 2025. Speaking about Trump derangement syndrome, and folks, we saw it on full display this past weekend. We saw it everywhere from Cranford to Metuchen to Montclair to Trenton to Jersey City, but even nearby here in Weehawken. Yes, folks, we saw it with all 73 cat ladies and all the beta males walking up and down Boulevard East. I can smell the cat piss through the video. Yes. Hooray for all 73 people marching in the rain looking like complete idiots. And what are you protesting against? Exactly. Like, what exactly are you protesting against? Because, folks, at the end of the day, let's be honest. Imagine if progressives and all the social justice clowns and woke fools took even a fraction of what they're spending on time and resources. Imagine if they took any of that while they're protesting and actually allocated to, I don't know, maybe providing food or housing to help the homeless or veterans, stuff that, again, that they supposedly care about. But you didn't see that. What you saw was, again, the usual social justice clowns, all the woke fools, the insufferable feminists, and all the smelly cat. Folks, I could smell the cat piss through that video. And it reminds everyone, folks, when you see all these Karens and all these cat ladies bitching and moaning, what are you bitching and moaning against? What? The price of crude oil going down again, which, by the way, folks, that'll bring down the cost of gas. Inflation seems to be going down. The cost of eggs have gone down. But it's funny, you won't hear those on the left and all the usual TDS children bitching and moaning about the cost of eggs or oil or inflation or mortgage rates, right? Interest rates, because they're all going down. So what do we want to complain about? What, standing up for woke causes, like many do, like coddling the illegals, protesting against ICE doing their job and keeping our community safe? Is that what they're bitching about? Right. It seems like they haven't learned anything since November. Okay. Where again, folks, Donald Trump just didn't fall back into the presidency by simply winning the Electoral College. He won the popular vote decisively. Okay? He came within 5 points of winning New Jersey. He flipped thousands of counties throughout the United States. Why? Because regular, everyday Americans were tired of all the woke bullshit, about coddling the illegals, about having a wide open border, about somehow coddling mentally ill people, adults, grown men playing make-believe, or parents enabling their mentally ill children somehow into believing that they can pick their own gender when they're 10 years old. Folks, it's this sort of woke bullshit that turned people off. Hispanics, blacks, Asians, people of Middle Eastern descent, college-educated women, single moms, single dads. Folks, I don't have enough fingers and toes to count the demographics that Democrats at a national level, that progressives, that all the woke fools turned off with all of their woke bullshit. Seems like you haven't learned your lesson. And one specifically is coddling mentally ill people. Okay? I'm going to give you a video here of Democrat Representative Tim McBride, okay, who likes to play dress up and pretend to be a woman named Sarah McBride. Let's go to this one.
We are here today because while we know that Donald Trump thinks that he can place his hands anywhere, we're telling him, hell no, hands off our Social Security, hands off our Medicaid, hands off Medicare, hands off SNAP, hands off our kids, hands off women's rights.
Oh, that's really rich, because that is rich coming from a guy who likes to mock women by pretending to be one. Right? Isn't that rich? A grown man playing dress up and playing make-believe is talking about hands off women's rights as if you're really a woman, Tim. You're not. But again, this is the hill that many on the left want to die on. Encouraging grown men to continue to play make-believe, to encourage adolescent boys and adolescent girls to play makeup and dress up and pretend to be something that they're not. Okay? Despicable, irresponsible parents encouraging this behavior. But again, when we see this, this is why you lost in November, because you encourage stupidity like this. Again, folks, isn't it rich to see that? To see a guy pretending to be a woman talk about hands off women's rights. We're all the feminists here. Shouldn't you be standing up for women? Like, biological women?
Hands off LGBTQ rights. We are here because we know our lives and the lives of our neighbors are worth fighting for. We know that our future is worth fighting for.
Interesting, coming from a guy pretending to be a woman. So, hey, hats off to Tim McBride, bro. Brother, let me tell you, man, you're killing it trying to deceive us all and fool us into pretending you're a woman. Well, folks, no one's buying this nonsense. And this is why the left and progressives lost last November. Again, it kind of makes you wonder. But other things, of course, that the left was having meltdowns over the weekend about Social Security, or about things that are going on in various states that somehow those on the left continue to rail against. For example, again, things that require a valid ID, because somehow when it comes to voting, the left and progressives, again, all the social justice clowns and woke fools don't want voter ID. Because God forbid, we can verify who you are. All right? Let's sort of look at this a little bit here. As you can see, the chart behind me, in case you can't read it, can't zoom in right now or take a screenshot, of course. It seems like those on the left, and again, folks, take your pick. Whether it's all these insufferable activists in New Jersey, Amy Torres, Sarah Clanany, Antoinette Pope, right? Patty Campos Medina, Lauren Albrecht, all these insufferable women, these stinky ass cat ladies, and insufferable feminists, all these other activists, all these beta males like Joe Amaditis from Montclair State University. These are the people that rail against voter ID because somehow it's racist and it's marginalizing people. How is it marginalizing people? So somehow in their warped logic, requiring an ID to vote is racist and inappropriate and it marginalizes people. No, it doesn't. Let's talk about when we need an ID. All right, let's go through this list here. Driving. For a lot of you out there who drive, men, women, right? Especially a lot of the shitty female drivers that I see on the roads. I mean, you need an ID to drive, don't you? You need a license to operate a motor vehicle, don't you? To verify who you are when you're driving, right? Okay. Boarding an airplane, right? Of course, I know that's going to change now in May because obviously Trenton wants to suck more of your money by requiring you to have a real ID. Folks, don't bother with a real ID, okay? You give enough of your money to Trenton, take those $25, buy yourself a nice steak dinner or a new shirt or something, but don't give any more money to Trenton. Take your passport, travel with it. That's what I'm doing. I don't believe in giving Trenton any more of my money than I have to. But again, if you want to board an airplane and travel, whether it's domestically or abroad, you need an ID. Like, we need to know who's boarding airplanes. Don't you think that's a good idea? Right? Going to a doctor's office or a hospital. God forbid you have to go to an urgent care and something is wrong with you. We need to verify who you are, right? Does that make sense? Okay. When applying for a job. Well, again, when we look at these people, right, from the weekend, let's be honest. I mean, any of them really have jobs? Maybe, provide an ID to apply for employment, maybe doesn't apply to it. Even if they have a lot of time on their hands. All right. I'll continue here. Bank transactions. I'm assuming when you want to have a withdrawal or add money to your savings or your 401k or your checking account, I mean, you need to verify your identity, right? I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it? To all the the New Jersey Policy Perspective or the ACLU or the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice or Make the Road New Jersey or the Latino Action. Folks, again, all of these bullshit organizations in New Jersey, they're useless, very much like their leadership, right? But let me continue, right? Oh, establish a utilities account because, running water, electricity, we need that, don't we? I mean, unless you want to live in the dark, right? Okay. Or purchasing a car or registering your car or outpatient testing or applying for Medicare or Medicaid. Perhaps opening a retirement account. Even donating blood. Doing something as worthwhile and humane as contributing to a blood bank. You need to verify who you are, right? Okay. About buying a firearm. Somehow practicing the Second Amendment requires you to provide an ID. I don't think anyone's going to object to that. But when it comes to other aspects of the Constitution, yeah, that's hands off. That's racist. Can someone please help me make sense of this? Okay. Oh, let's say writing a check or using a credit card, even buying car insurance, even buying train tickets to go visit, maybe go down the shore this summer. You need to verify who you are, folks. Is that too much to ask? Maybe volunteering in nonprofit organizations like yours truly. Folks, not only am I an award-winning journalist, but I'm also an award-winning philanthropist. You can see it behind me. There's way too many awards back there from reputable nonprofit organizations. And guess what? When I had to go do that, I had to verify my identity. Not a lot to ask for, right? Okay. But this one, applying for a professional license. Whether you want to be a bartender, maybe a realtor, maybe an accountant, maybe a mortgage lender. You need to verify who you are, folks. Right? Maybe buying a house or even renting an apartment. You get what I'm saying, right, folks? Right? You get what I'm saying. Asking for an ID isn't racist or discriminatory or prejudicial. It's simply wanting to know who you are. And when it comes to elections, we want voter integrity. It's not a lot to ask for. And it's interesting because, again, when we see people marching over this past weekend, it kind of makes you wonder, what do they really stand for? Again, these cat ladies, these feminists, these social justice clowns, these woke fools. I mean, folks, it just makes you wonder about like these activists. Like, what are you marching for? The economy's getting better. Yes, I understand the tariff situation, but folks, there's a little bit of a short-term pain for a long-term gain. For those of you that understand economics, you would know that. But again, what do I expect out of people that failed basic biology in high school or basic civics? The fact you don't know economics either doesn't surprise me. Again, all the cat ladies, all the, oh God, folks, I can smell the cat piss through the video. And again, folks, you know what? I like to sort of, be humorous on this show and entertain you. I look at these cat ladies here. I mean, what exactly are they marching for other than just being their usual insufferable selves? Kind of makes me wonder, like, folks, you want to know the difference between hockey players and all these insufferable cat ladies? Yeah? Want to know the difference? Yeah, hockey players, after 3 periods, at least they take a shower. You know what I'm saying? Can't say the same for the others. But, hey, that's just a word on the street. Right? Folks, don't take these marches seriously. These aren't serious people. And these are serious times, and we need serious people to solve serious problems. But when it comes to that, nobody on the left offers serious solutions, folks. If you haven't gotten the memo yet, well, maybe you never will. Again, and when it comes to Trump derangement syndrome, and it comes to children masquerading as adults, let's be fair, you could always rely on these idiots to give us a good laugh. But it reminds us now more than ever about the importance of good governance in cutting out wasteful spending and making sure that, you know what, we're not just throwing money away at the federal level or even at the state level. But what do you expect, folks? As I said before, for a bunch of fools up here that clearly never took high school biology and passed it, they never took a civics course and passed it, clearly they never took an economics course either. And it shows, folks. These are the people you want representing you in advocacy, academia, and media? Yeah, no thanks. Yeah, I think I'd rather go with people much more responsible and ethical and have more integrity. Oh, that's right. It's me, Fernando Uribe. And those are my final thoughts. Folks, before we call it a night, I do want to thank everybody, obviously, for the month of March. Incredible traffic, as always, on this show. But again, without all of you, my loyal viewing audience, these numbers would not be possible. And you know what? Let me just go with regular, humble Fernando for a moment. And on behalf of myself, the production crew here, I want to thank all of you that make it a point to tune in every Monday night here on the broadcast and that share the replay throughout the week on all of your social media handles. I am so grateful to all of you. It's because of you that this number is possible. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I'm deeply humbled by your support, your encouragement, and your love for this program. As you all know, I'm not the most humble guy walking. When it comes to numbers like this, I'm deeply humbled. Now, let's cut a promo. So for all the little Mickey Mouse journalists, your little Mickey Mouse podcasts, your little Mickey Mouse news sites, folks, the only traffic these people know, maybe the traffic they see on the Turnpike, on the Parkway, on Route 1 and 9, Route 78, Route 3 or Route 4. But folks, here on this show, it's real traffic because it's real talk. And I could be braggadocious and I could talk a little smack and I could be a little cocky and arrogant, and sure, I can do all those things, but why not rely on my childhood hero, the greatest of all time, to tell you the truth about real talk? And for all the haters that still tune in every week, you know you do. You can't help yourselves. But to all the fans, I love you. To all my supporters, my classmates, my colleagues, my inner circle, my besties, my sunshine, my family, everybody who tunes in, I love you all. Thank you for supporting. But for all the haters, what better person to ideally explain why you can't help yourselves?
The bottom line, woo! Whether you like it or don't like it, learn to live with it, because God bless you, it's the best thing going today. Woo!
Oh, let's have that again.
And the bottom line, woo! Whether you like it or don't like it, learn to live with it, because God bless you, it's the best thing going today. Woo!
Oh, that's right, folks. A special thank you to the Nature Boy, the greatest of all time, Ric Flair, for basically telling you exactly what you already know. The reason these numbers are great is because of all of you. But also the reason these numbers are great is because I'm great and you're not. And again, for all the Mickey Mouse journalists who get maybe 100,000 views in a year, folks, I do this in 1 month. We're not the same. Again, I'm the hero you need right now in Garden State media. Trust me, I will lead us. And that's our show for this week. Once again, I want to thank Sidney Ferreira for his appearance tonight. Again, mayoral candidate in the city of Kearny. Folks, you can check him out on Facebook. And if you're looking to get involved with this great campaign, please do so. You have options coming up in November, folks, in the city of Kearny. It's Sidney Ferreira and his council candidates. Once again, folks, I want to thank you for tuning in this week. Make sure you like the show on Facebook, of course. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And whether you Subscribe to us on YouTube. If you haven't done so already, click the subscribe button. And like, comment, and click the thumbs up for this episode. It'll get to more people by doing so on your algorithm. And of course, whether you listen on Spotify or SoundCloud, download Jersey First and take us with you everywhere during these spring days. Again, folks, happy April to everybody. Yes, it's April showers, but hopefully it brings May flowers. Happy April to everybody. And I can't say enough, really, folks, for the support I get on this show. I love you all, especially the haters, because I know you're still tuning in. Speaking of excellent journalism, folks, that's right. I'm proud to be on the dream team of Garden State Media. It is Jersey First TV, of course. Brand new episodes of The Nader Narrative premiere every Thursday, hosted by my outstanding tag team partner, the great Elizabeth Nader. And, of course, brand new episodes of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe premiere every Monday night. Check your local listings, of course, for start times. And, folks, I can't say it enough. If it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always Real Talk right here on the Jersey First Television Network. And yes, I am the generational talent in Garden State Media, because my level of honesty, ladies and gentlemen, now more than ever, is truly necessary in this era of journalistic deception, especially with our liberal establishment media here in the Garden State. That's right, folks. It's me, Fernando Uribe. I'm the hero you need right now. And trust me, I will lead us. Thank you for tuning in here. Enjoy the rest of your week, folks. Please party responsibly. Again, thanks for stopping by. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, stay classy, everyone.